You know, I didn't notice it at first, but for all the things that we pay attention to in life, there's always some aspects of it that end up getting neglected. And they're everyday things, really, and I have to ask myself sometimes, when was the last time I really cared about these things? And I don't just mean like thought about them, but actually cared to pay enough attention to make any modifications or just give it the attention that it needs. And some of these are easy to notice. They're everyday things like taking our car to get its oil changed or meeting with your boss for your annual review. These are, things that we just kind of come accustomed to paying attention to, right? And it's because we know they're coming up, we know that they're needed. But meanwhile, all these other things that kind of they don't have such an immediate impact. They're not as immediately threatening or affecting our day-to-day operations. They build up over time, and I think that's a big reason why they get neglected. Whether it's, things like your health or your car, there's always aspects we focus on and aspects that we forget about or sometimes don't know about. It happens in work too. It's like everything that we're doing is inside of this rubber band, and the rubber band is stretching, holding the troubles and the worries and the things that we don't really want to think or talk about away from us. So we feel comfortable because we don't feel the tension of that rubber band. But the farther we get separated from them, the weaker that band gets, and eventually it snaps. The truth is that things don't break all at once. What happens over time, it's small cracks, it's tension over time that creates this perfect environment for when we need these things the most. That's when they become unavailable to us or unusable or out of reach. And it's not intentional. It's not like we do this on purpose. We get into a groove. We feel good. The average day for us is something that we've gotten used to, even if it's not the best that we can be or the best things that we want for ourselves. It feels comfortable because it's familiar, and familiarity is one of those things that can be a double-edged sword. It can be the best thing for you in the time, or it could be preventing you from having the best things in your life. Now, I've noticed that these things show up in different areas, but a lot of them are commonly in three specific areas. The first one is in our home life. This is things that we pay attention to that other parts of it just completely get missed. Take your car, for example. We know to get the oil changed. We know to have the brake pads and rotors checked, but we don't always pay attention to how even things like the cleanliness of our vehicle can make a big difference in not just how the vehicle runs, but how we feel about this thing that we spend so much time and so much effort in. The same goes for the exterior of your home. During certain times of the year, you probably only see it when you're walking in and out of your home to go to your next task, to go to work, to go to the gym, to go to wherever you're going. We see it for seconds a day, and maybe we forget that the siding needs to be power washed or the gutters need to be cleaned. Ultimately, it's that common phrase, out of sight, out of mind. If it's not something we see regularly, it's not something we think about often enough to actually pay attention to when something might be in desperate need of our assistance or our attention. Another place is work. We end up in this reactive state. We get so used to solving problems and fixing things. And before you know it, if there's nothing to fix, we just find ourselves in this kind of their state. We're not even monitoring anymore. We're just sitting at our desks or at our station or whatever the case may be, and we're just there in case. And the problem with that is that you realize that once you get used to things, you stop kind of hearing if there's any real problem. You could have someone saying something to you that you've heard over and over and over again for years, and you're just so used to hearing the question that you have the same answer, not recognizing that it's a different person or a different problem that you're facing, even though the question sounds the same. The last one, and probably the most important part, is our personal lives. This is our relationships with other people, our relationships with ourselves, our health. We fall into patterns. We see a certain part of ourselves in the mirror and think, oh, I really need to work on that, and don't necessarily recognize what the underlying causes that may be. We're like, oh, okay, I want to lose 10 pounds, so I need to do this, or I need to do what I heard on this podcast or on what I got from AI. And these things don't know anything about you. They don't know anything about what you're going through and what actually needs to be done to not just resolve the problem, but to make sure it never happens again. In relationships, especially long ones that we've been in with our significant others, with our children, with our immediate family, we end up in these situations where we feel like we've heard the same story, we've been through the same thing over and over and over again. And we forget that relationships change with time, that people change with time. So even if we're saying the same thing, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's for the same reason or that the same outcome is going to happen again. I think looking at it, from an outside lens for maybe the first time in a while, I recognize that just because we've heard it before doesn't mean we're seeing what we're supposed to be seeing right now. The truth is that I think that patterns can be very detrimental to us if we don't take the time to zoom out and try to look at it from an outside perspective and treat every situation in our lives for the moment that we're in. And yes, we should use our past experiences to help develop solutions, but we can't always assume that because it worked before, it's going to work now, or because it failed before, it's going to fail this time. It's not the past, and it's good to hold on to that, but we can't let it guide us into fear or separation or a way of being that doesn't allow us the freedom to believe and to choose that there can be a different outcome. Ultimately, patterns won't change unless we take a step back and recognize that what we're seeing today is something different.